I want to start off by saying that everybody should be prepared for any disasters that could hit their area. Whether that could be a tornado, a hurricane, the next major world war, fire outbreak, burning down the forest around you. You have to be prepared for what could happen in your area and potentials of what may happen in your area. So you have to take into account about different things and try to be planned ahead as far as you can. And that's where the bug out bag is the most practical bag in my mind. And a bug out bag technically can be any bag. It can be a backpack. I mean, it could be a suitcase bag that you're using, a duffel bag. It doesn't have to be any particular type of bag. But a bug out bag is a bag that if disaster strikes where you're at, you're going to be able to grab it. It has things in it that you need. Water filtration, knives for survival, food sources, like whether that be trail mix or some snacks or something along those lines and everything. Just enough basic stuff to get started. Basic bug out bag should have 3 days worth of supplies in it. That's about all you're going to be able to carry anyway. I have a lot of people that tell me, well, I can carry a lot more. I'm not saying you can't carry a lot more, but it takes a lot to be able to carry even 3 days worth of materials. I had an older couple talk to me one time that said that they had everything they thought they needed inside their bags one time. They said they grabbed it. They couldn't even get it picked up off the table because it weighed so much. And when we set it on the scale, it weighed something like 140 pounds. That gigantic hunting backpacks, camping backpacks. I'm not sure what kind of bags it were, but they were ridiculously big. But that is where 3 days worth of stuff, and the lighter you can get it, the better. That is the key thing. And the higher quality you can get it, better. Now, some of you are thinking, well, the lightweightness and the high quality, those two things don't go together. And on some things they do. And there are other things that you just can't help but have. I'm not saying to load up your entire cast iron collection, though, and try to carry it on your bag, because that's just a lot of weight. However, that being said, they do make a fine stainless steel kit that you can use that are pots and pans and everything's ready, and it is incredibly light. And that's what I'm going to get into next here is the gear that you should have in your bug out bag and basic essentials. Obviously, water is going to be number one. Shelter is going to be another thing. So making sure that you have a saw that you can use to saw down tree limbs, whether that be for building a fire or a shelter, is going to be essential. So let's take a look at some of the gear that I have in this bag right here. So I have two bags right here. This black backpack right here is actually a bag that I'm working on right now building. This camo one here is actually a bug out bag of mine that I actually need to redo. But I'll show you guys what I got started here on this black one. And actually, this black bag right here has a pre-made survival kit. You can buy these on Amazon. I'll show you guys what's inside of these right here. Has a strap here on the top that you gotta undo before you do anything. Couple that, and then you can go back to Velcro and then open it up. This is what a basic survival kit would look like if you buy it pre-packaged, just a cheap one. Comes with a poncho, small first aid kit that's going to have just some average band-aids and some medicine in there, Tylenol packets, it's like that. These are really cool right here. You can actually buy these individually from the store. Foldable fork and knife set. I highly recommend that you get one of these. If you should have one of these in your bug out bag and your get home bag, and they're just handy for everything. And you can even use the spoon to dig with if you have to. So that's just a handy little item right there. This right here, a lot of people get confused about this. This is actually a straw for drinking, so you don't have to. It's not filtered. recommend getting a filtration system. Have a flashlight in there. This is a striker for starting a fire. And this right here is a survival blanket, and they do keep you warm, I will say that much. Also comes with a compass. Pretty handy little dude right here. The compass is a little hard to get open. That's the only thing I do not like about it, is that it is extremely hard to get open. I'm going to try to open it right there. It comes with a tactical pin, and these can come in handy for a lot of different things. I actually do not like this tactical pin as well as some of the other ones I bought individually that are a heavier pin. These, though, this one has done its job every time I've tested it and everything. But this one, compared to other tactical pins, actually will write and everything. It's actually a functioning pin as well. A lot of tactical pins aren't, so that's something to really keep in mind right there. Here's the inside of that compass right there for you guys. It's pretty cheap. You can buy these compasses at Walmart. Actually, they're not too bad, but I have maps and other directional things to have inside my bag. It comes with a little bit of paracord that you can use for standardized things, and that's pretty much it for this kit right here. It also comes with this knife right here, which is actually a very tactical knife. So what I like doing with these cheaper kits is, as I buy them, is actually I take out some of the stuff and I actually upgrade them to a more high-end tool, such as the knife, such as the fork and the spoon set. If it's not quite heavy enough for what I think it should be, I go ahead and redo it. But that kit fits nicely in front of this backpack. You can also buy these backpacks off of Amazon. They're got more compartments on them than what you can know what to do with after you get them. But once you get the idea of how you should have organized for you, it really goes a long way. As I was saying earlier, though, I don't have much in this bag. I'm actually building it, so we're going to move on over here to this one. And just for a reference, a bug out bag and a get home bag could be the same thing, because you're going to need a lot of the same supplies for what you're going to need for a bug out bag as you would a get home bag. A get home bag, though, for those of you guys who don't know what that is, it's like World War III is broken out and this country, or the country that you're in, starts collapsing and you have to get home, but an EMP hit and you can't drive your vehicle because it won't start, and it's just got all kinds of things. That's the difference between a get home bag. Again, really only going to be good for 3 days, but it depends on what you have in it and how much weight you can actually carry. But I would suggest that you guys not carry any more weight than what you have to, even if you can't carry more weight, because the faster you can move, the better. And a lot of people think, well, I need stuff to start fires with. And a bug out bag, I would agree. And a get home bag, it's kind of hit or miss. Because if you're in a situation to where you don't want anybody to know where you're at and you're on your way somewhere and it's a highly populated area, then starting a fire with that smoke is going to be the last thing that you're going to want, because you're going to give away your location faster than anything. So just keep that in mind. Things that a lot of people seem to forget about when they're building these bags is having some medicine. Here's some bleeding stop if you ever get wounded, if you get into a bad situation. I've got painkillers in here, a Dollar Tree brand. I mean, just a cheap Dollar Tree brand, which Dollar Tree actually has some aspirin and stuff. It's a pain reliever. It's not necessarily an aspirin, but you can actually buy that, and it's 500 milligrams, and it comes with like 40 of them in a deal. So that's really, there's a low dose aspirin for you. But it comes in, it's a highly effective medicine. I take it sometimes when I get headaches, and it just, see, like that right there is only 200 milligrams. That's 500 milligrams. It really does work. Some mucus relief for allergies. Depends on what you guys have. And don't forget any types of medications, in case if you happen to be somebody that has to have a particular type of medicine, or if you have asthma, keep in mind that you're going to really want to have an inhaler with you, or if you have any allergies or anything, have the EpiPen. I know EpiPens require you to get to the hospital if you can, but having an EpiPen if it buys you some time, it buys you some time. That's really the way that you have to look at it. You have to think about it as it's happening in the moment. You can't be thinking about, well, 3 days from now, because when you're in a type of situation to where you may need this stuff inside of your bag or anything along those lines, just remember that you have to live for what's happening right then. So if you have an allergy to bees and you get stung and you have that EpiPen and you're like, well, I'm going to go to the hospital, it's better that you go ahead and take it. And you may not actually have to seek like medical attention even if you can get to it, because I know EpiPens can go either way. I've known some people that have had to use them and that they never went to the hospital and they seem to be fine, but I wouldn't suggest that though. Always go to the hospital if you use an EpiPen. The people that just didn't like going to doctors or anything. So also have this little tactical military kit, aid kit here. And on the inside of it, I'm not going to open it up because it'll spill everywhere, but it's packed full of everything from medicines. There's a little sewing kit in there if you have to sew up a wound or something, and it's amazing what you might actually need if you get out there. As I was saying earlier as well, just like I showed you guys on the other bag, here's another tactical kit, or survival kit. I mean, it's exactly like the one I showed you over there. This one's been beefed up a lot. I'm not going to open it because I showed you guys the contents of the other one, but this one's been beefed up a lot. It actually weighs probably 3 times what that one does. I put in a lot higher quality items because this is the bag I do carry for a lot of the time. That over there is the bag I carry to go to the range a lot, so it's just a big difference. This is another bag that I'm actually going to rework eventually and put in other gear, but rope is something else. People don't think about all the uses for rope, and I just don't mean things as basic as, oh, well, building shelters. Think about if you end up falling off the side of a cliff and somebody has to pull you back up, or think about if you need something, if you fall and you have to set your leg and you have to use like 2 sticks to set your leg and everything, think about how you're going to tie it, what you're going to tie it with. Paracord was great, but I'd rather save my paracord because it works better for building a shelter. You take some of that rope, chop off some pieces of it and tie it around you and you'd be good to go then. This is an all-weather towel, outdoors towel. It's a specialized deal. It's kind of an unusual deal because I don't really use this thing for much of anything, but having a towel again is just something that you have to really keep in mind for things. Again, if you get wounded, and even small things are going to become a big deal, having infection killers like it's over here, you can never have too many knives. So I have another knife here, I have more first aid stuff here, some bandages and gauze, lighters. Having a way to start a fire is such a big deal. Flashlights. And a lot of people think, well, I'm going to put that in here because I'm not going to have any way to replace the batteries. That's fine, but what I like about flashlights is, as long as you're not keeping them on all the time, they aren't draining the batteries. As long as you keep them in a spot to where they're not just going to get soaking wet. You got to remember that even with lighters, you have such a limited fuel source, but this is also a Dollar Tree special there, but buy 3 for $1.25. You can get any of that stuff there. I like the Dollar Tree, and infection is another big thing. Hydrogen peroxide here. This is something people don't think about either. Going back to what I was saying just a while ago, having the smallest thing, even a little nick or cut from like a thorn bush or something, can become hazardous if you have no way to get back and see a doctor or have no way to clean the wound yourself. So having plenty of disinfectant and bandages is such an important deal. This again came from Dollar Tree. What I like about these bottles is it has that spray nozzle on the top. Just be careful that when you're putting this stuff in your bag though, that you don't end up pressing against anything to where it's going to leak out, because then all of your stuff's going to be soaked and you don't want hydrogen peroxide on any of your gear. Water decontaminant, the agua, as the Spaniards would call it. This stuff right here, water purification. Great stuff right here. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to be able to get water in, it isn't going to hurt me from the stream. You have to think about bacteria. You really have to think about the side of things of, what if you drink some water that has some bad bacteria in it and you can't stop going to the bathroom, basically is the way I'm going to put it, and you just can't stop, and you become extremely dehydrated and you're not able to drink enough, and then you're drinking more of that contaminated water. This right here, put a few drops of that in your canteen. They make so many different types. This is an essential. If you're a survivalist of any kind or just getting into this type of game, this is the stuff that I recommend. The first things you end up buying. This came from Walmart. I've tested these kits before. Works incredible. I've taken lake water and did it. Another way, though, if you do not have something like this, is you can boil the water to where you don't have to worry about the bacteria. Boil it down. Or if you're by the ocean, and if you guys want salt, you can actually boil that water down and boil it completely dry, and then there'll be a lot of salt at the bottom of your water. But going back to what I was talking about, all this, these is something that I highly recommend everybody get. I know I just said that a while ago. Everybody should have these in their bug out bags or get home bags or camping bags. There ain't no telling when these are going to come in handy, because if you don't have drinkable water, you're only going to last at most 3 days. And I think a lot of us want to last a lot longer than that. So there's a highly repeating trend here. I actually have a lot of medicine. These are cough drops right here. Again, Dollar Tree brand. Because when it comes to medicines, you're really not any better off buying here or there. Now, there are some things that like Walmart or Target or Walgreens would have. If you're going to buy the higher end medicine, I do suggest you go to a Walgreens or something. Basic things like cough drops, I just go to Dollar Tree for those, because you can buy them there in the kit. And having a sore throat, even something like that, is going to be the biggest nuisance. Something else Dollar Tree has, though, speaking of that, is this diamond braided rope. And a lot of people are thinking, well, it's not paracord. What's funny is, though, I actually found, I have an entire crate of this, though, that is actually paracord in these bundles. And I bought everything they had because it was paracord. It was $5.50 paracord being sold at Dollar Tree because they had a special limited time run on it. I ended up buying like every roll of that paracord they had on their shelves. But now they sell this, which isn't as good. But again, rope. You can never have too much of any of this stuff. There's another knife. I'm a believer in having as many knives as you can possibly carry. Now, that's a folding pocket knife, but you should also have a knife that you can carry on you that would be highly effective. Like a K-Bar or an Ontario Knife Company knife. One thing I will say, though, about Ontario is that they have kind of went downhill in quality. They got bought out. I don't know if they've improved any since then, but they got bought out by another company, so they're not owned by the same company anymore. K-Bar Mini. I was going to say a survival tactical knife that you're going to carry on you for various things. This one right here, it being the Mini, it's lighter than the full-size one. It's easy to carry. K-Bar still makes incredible knives. Price point on these is going to be a little high. I gave $75 for this one. It was slightly on sale. The big ones are going to cost you a little bit more than that. The bayonet, though, from Ontario Knife Company, which is funny because it's called bayonet, but it's the same one that Delta Force carries in the military, is actually an incredible knife as well. Some other items I suggest that you guys try to pick up for your bags is some soap. I know that sounds insane, but you got to be able to stay clean even if you're out there in the middle of the woods or the mountains or wherever it is that you may be having to bug out to if the time ever comes, or be able to get home, because smell and the way the wind blows and everything could really give away your position to somebody that you don't want them to know where you're at. And a lot of this stuff, I showed you some stuff that I carry here. I didn't show you all the stuff I carry, but like I said, I have to rework both of these bags. I'm still building this one and this one right here. I've been trying to rework it with some different gear and everything. But the piece of advice I got to give to everybody is, you can have all the gear in the world and have it stowed away and be able to carry it and everything, But if you don't know how to use it, it does you no good. So if you get gear, get it, practice with it, and you got to test it, because if you were to get a foldable saw and you had to go cut down some limbs or something and it broke the first time that you used it and you thought it was good, but it turned out to be cheap dookie, then it would just, you know, be a waste of your time, and you'd rather have it fail and when you can control it and get something else or replace it if it was under warranty, than have to actually have it fail out there. Be like, well, that was my only thing, and I don't really have any other way to do that. So you always got to be thinking. I like thinking about 10 steps ahead, but in reality, you got to be thinking about 5 steps ahead of anything that could happen. It seems like every day the world becomes, I don't know, the world changes every day is what I'm trying to say. It's like you go to sleep one night and you wake up the next day. So be prepared. The world seems to be shifting around, and some good, some bad, and it's just, but it's always been that way throughout history, I feel like. And we've always had wars, and we'll always have wars. It's just the way it is, and we got to be prepared for all these things and prepping. And guys, for all of you out there who think, well, my friends think I'm insane because I'm prepping, or my spouse thinks I'm insane because I want to start prepping. Here's the thing. Prepping does not mean that you're living in fear. Prepping just means that you're preparing for what could happen. Being prepared. Think about it this way. Think about it as the deal of, if you go in and you study for a test and you studied, and then you went and you got 100% on the test. But then, let's say the other end of that you didn't study, and then you went in and you got a 50% on the test. Well, now whose fault is that? Because it's being prepared. Was it your fear of studying that made you fail the test and not study? Or was it just because you thought, oh, well, studying's not cool, man, and, you know, being that guy and stuff, and it's just, you just have to do you and not care what anybody else thinks. I also wanted to cover this real quick. A lot of people talk about ammo in their bags, and I've been asked this before. It's like, well, what about carrying ammo? Ammo cans are good. Dump your ammo down in there and everything. The problem is ammo gets heavy, and it gets heavy awful quick. So what I would suggest is that you have it already stowed away. You have it in your magazines you're carrying, or whatever you're carrying. That was 22 bomb rifle shells I just showed you right there. And the reason I showed you those is because that is the ammo that a lot of people seem to prefer. It is something that they seem to enjoy because it's cheaper, one, to buy, and it's lighter to carry. And it's practical for hunting. You can go out and hunt squirrels and everything with it. Something that a lot of people don't think about, though, is having things like a bow and arrow. I should also mention it's best to have a group, guys. If you are going to go out into a survival situation, whether it be for fun or it's actually real, it's best to have a group, because you have to be able to rely on people, because you're not going to survive by yourself, because you can't do it all on your own. You can't go out and hunt and grow food and chop wood and build shelters and maintain a whole camp all by yourself. I mean, you probably could, but you're not going to survive very long doing that, because you're just going to work yourself to death. So just keep that in mind when you do that. And I want to tell you about our upcoming giveaway real quick before I end this video. This Ka-Bar Mini I showed you here earlier, so we're actually going to be giving away 3 of those on our channel. All you got to do to win is be subscribed to our channel. Once we hit 10,000 subscribers, we are going to be giving away one of these to the first 3 people that give us the 5 keywords. The 5 keywords are going to be coming up in videos here very soon in the new year. And we're going to go live, and once we go live, when we ask for those 5 keywords, the first 3 people to give us the 5 keywords that we have, they don't have to be in any particular order when we give them to you guys, but the first 3 people to give us the first 3 people to give us the 5 keywords that we told you guys about are going to each win a Ka-Bar Mini. And you do have to be 18 years or older to enter this contest. That'll be after we hit 10,000 subscribers. And if you are worried about not being able to do that or winning some other prizes, then don't fret, because if you're not 18 years of age and can do this contest through us, or if you're thinking, well, there's no way I'm going to be like one of the first 3 people, don't fret, because the next 5 people after those first 3 people are also going to win some prizes through us. It's going to be some backpacks and some other things with our gear on it, such as these hats. This is the one I wear right here. This is our brand, JNR Exploration and Discovery. Be giving away some hats like that. And we're coming out with some jackets, stocking caps, t-shirts, stuff like that. And that'll be coming up here very soon. And for those of you guys who may be interested in buying that stuff, I will put the link to the store as soon as we officially open it online. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoy this video. Hope you guys are doing well out there. And you guys learn something if you're wanting to get into the survival skill set or really begin in the prepping world. God bless each and